time around the map. As we're into this draft, do WE continue their streak of 9 games banning Cassio? Not yet. Will EDG take it away before they get a chance to ban it in second rotation?
And I know we didn't talk about Leave being the biggest mage player, but it is another one of those champions, that Cassio, that can flex into the bot lane position. Bulldog also with a numerous amount of experience on the pick, likely seeing that one selected, as it has been consistently banned on WE's side. Perhaps this means that there's some answer here, Melvin?
Curious, with the Syndra already off the table, the Orianna banned away. Victor is a common thing that would come up here, particularly because it lets you flex it into the bot lane to match the Cassio, if that's the direction you want to send it. I'm very curious, because WE have been banning this relentlessly. So they clearly have a plan and think that EDG is the level of opponent that they feel comfortable testing their plan against.
So it will be a Jace lock-in alongside the Nautilus. Nautilus, we know that's going towards Erha, but the Jace could go all of 4 different roles right now. It could go top, it could go jungle, it could go mid. We've even been seeing some Jace in the bottom lane. Maybe this is the answer into one of those bot lane mage picks. Only time will tell, as EDG are going to respond immediately with a Jarvan, likely this Leona coming in for Parukia.
Really like the Jarvan pickup here. It is such a bother to play against if you are the Cassio. So picking it up is pretty much essential if you have the opportunity. And it's one of those early game champions that you can not just match Monki in the early levels, but potentially deny from him. I imagine we're looking to see maybe a Trundle pickup from WE if they don't want to reveal their mid to bot lane champion here. They do have options, but it does mean that wherever they don't opt for, EDG can ban away. I'm not going to give any credence until we see a lock-in right now.
Yeah, the main thing that you learn when you become a caster is to not talk about hovers, and I unfortunately fell for that bait with the Leona. It's a Shen here for Parukia, but Karis is going to go for the Akali. Now, this is interesting because, in general, Akali pretty bad against that Cassiopeia with all the mobility that she possesses, but potentially it's going to be WE playing the flex game here, sending the Akali into a lane that the Cassiopeia is not in order to give it the best advantage in the early game.
I know that there has been the school of thought of, because Akali can preempt the Cassio throwing out the miasma, you can buffer it with your E, so you're out of range, and then can choose whether to go back in. So there's a bit of a game you can play regarding that, but it is definitely a high skill matchup if the Akali is to beat out the Cassio. So now, as we do have both Galio and Twisted Fate banned away, 2 mega nuisances in the mid lane for this Akali, we continue to wait and see. It is just more pressure, taking stuff away from Cube. I'm expecting WE to have to reveal the top half of their map on the flex. If they reveal the bottom half, okay, it does mean that it's most likely going to be Monki getting to get a comp counter pick, theoretically, and it is something they have done. They could chuck the Jace in the jungle, as they are just hovering a series of ADCs, potentially preempting what they expect from Leave this time around.
Yeah, WE, one of the teams that really has not gotten into this mage madness down there, really has preferred to play the marksman and has done so decently successfully. We'll continue that trend here with the Corki lock-in, and we'll see now what EDG want to do on the other side. Do they send that Cassio back into the mid lane and pick up a traditional marksman for Leave?
Or do they think that the Cassio plus the Shen is enough to break through a Nautilus and then run down a Corki? It is an interesting prospect to think about, as EDG have to come to some kind of decision here. It will be the Sivir. They opt to just turn it into a normal looking game. And that's one of the things that can happen. If you don't watch the draft phase at the moment, you don't realize how much thought you have to put into your draft to keep it available to do the silly mages bot nonsense. Because if you're not threatening it, you could get broken by it. This looks like it's going to be a regular looking game of League, but now it is all about figuring out whether those top laners are going to pivot. It is just standard Cassante lock-in for ZDZ, something that can get a lot done, especially considering WE, they don't have a massive amount of tank shred right now.
I would have liked the Olaf into WE's composition if ZDZ did want to pick it, but instead going a little bit safer with the Cassante. Final pickup here for WE. Still opportunities to flex that Jace into the jungle, and it looks like that is going to be the call with an Mbessa lock-in to try to counter this Cassante. Could potentially still flex the Mbessa jungle, but I'm expecting this to be the full layout that we're working with here in Game 2.
Okay, so WE have crafted some kind of, you use the Jace and the Corki, regardless of role, to poke you down, and then you just full send it with the other 3. Alternately, you can use the Nautilus ult to start the play, and that reliably guarantees both the Ambessa and the Akali be able to access a primary target. The only thing is, when we look over to EDG, they have a Sivir, who's got a spell shield, which means that's not actually reliable, so it's realistically going to be all eyes on Bulldog as the man who is going to get pressured. They have a lot of anti-dive tools, a lot of ability to shred through people with that Shuriman mid plus bot lane combo. So I think EDG have the tools to handle what WE have, it's just whether they can leverage them.
Pretty clear identities here. WE want to go in, EDG want to prevent that. They want to counter-engage, and potentially could be the better suited composition for this upcoming game. Still a lot to be determined though, because if WE are able to get that early game advantage like they did in game 1, it should result in them picking up a pretty easy sweep to open up week 2 of their season. WE, again, off to one of the best starts that they have ever had here in the top group of the LPL. They want to continue to push that momentum. They got a matchup with BLG tomorrow, and getting a win against EDG here would get them into a great headspace going up against the league's best. Game number 2 about to begin here in our arena in Shanghai. WE looking to sweep EDG out into an 0-4 position. We already saw some early trading. Level 1, going to continue to see that here onto Parukia as Erha hits a really nice dredge line onto the Shen, forces him to 300 HP before the minions even crash.
Really nice. Level 1's one of those few moments where the Shen often wants to start the taunt, but that means he doesn't have the ability to put down that Spirit's Refuge that makes him such a nuisance in the bottom lane, or having that Q that lets him out-trade most of these supports. So a really nice little angle from WE to punish EDG at this moment. We do have both junglers starting their red buffs. That means we're likely to get desynced pathing unless, and it's very reasonable unless, Monki goes for some nonsense invading blue buff.
Yeah, I mean, the Jace, not necessarily known for its early ganking power, but certainly can win a duel, right, in terms of just going in for a 1v1. Looks like just going to be early bottom side clear for Monki. You'd expect him to reset here, pick up either a tier or a longsword, and then head right back out to the rest of his jungle.
I think there was a brief moment in time there where he looked to go bot lane. They have the Nautilus, but with that level 1 trade, both teams warded the Tribush. WE well aware they can't go for anything sneaky. It will be matched on the other side, with Xiaohao also picking up a longsword and pathing on down. Nothing too exciting just right now, just some trading.
Yeah, Taunt does connect onto about. He's chucked down to about 200 HP, but so is Parukia, who now has to flash away. Another root will land onto Leave, who all of a sudden becomes a target. He's forced to flash on out, and Parukia is running the wrong way. He's going to sacrifice his life to make sure that Leave will survive, but it is first blood going the way of about.
Really well executed from WE. Now they just need to survive the Jarvan's pressure, who has cut camps to get down here. They see him, he has flash.
Yeah, and about does not, which crucially going to be important here, but a really nice Valkyrie gets about to safety as Xiaohao comes up empty on the bottom lane play.
Credit upon credit over to Erha there. He was ready, knew that that was a possibility, and standing in the position where Jarvan should be walking to mark him out, slow him down. If that Jarvan is allowed to just right-click forward, about at least has to barrier, but a well-executed defense punishing that. And now, with neither bot lane having flash, does open up plenty more hook opportunities, or potentially Monki making his way down there, as he is just crossing through mid right now. Peace was an option in the mid lane, as it turns out.
Interesting to see Monki opt towards this second spawn of the Raptors, knowing that he was ahead in his clear with Xiaohao going for that gank. He could have gone for killing that second respawn of the enemy Raptors, but instead opting for a little bit more safety, as now Erha, not going to look so safe on his own, goes for the dredge line after the Hex Flash onto Bulldog, but does not connect it, so instead will just help this Akali push the wave back in.
And the first blood may have already been secured, but we do now have this 3-stack. The deadly trio, as EDG is well aware we don't want to catch that heat. Do not mess around when those three are all stacked together. It will just be securing a Raptor camp alone and possibly giving Monki an avenue to walk the Krugs. But about playing his role correctly. You are the weak side right now. Cube had to do it last game. You have to do it this time around. Just play safe bot. Just play safe bot.
It feels bad if you look at all the minions that About is losing, but it's better than him losing his own life. Parukia not going to be able to do too much here underneath the tower, so Erha will get enough time to return from base and be able to at least allow for About to pick up the last half of those ranged minions.
And this is what I meant when we were talking in the pregame, that we talk about Monki so much because he is the defining part of WE, but he is not all of WE. If you don't have About, last game Cube, playing their weak side moments correctly, navigating the slower parts of the game while the kill squad is roaming around the map, WE doesn't work. If you're getting picked out of position like we saw from Leave in a lot of EDG's earlier series, we didn't have it so much in the last game, so potentially him turning it around a bit in this second week of the LPL Split 3, but if you don't play safe when you're weak side, your kill squad will not accumulate a lead, they'll just trade.
Wow, Karis immediately going forward with that perfect execution, forcing the miasma out from Bulldog, not going to look for anything more. Now bot lane, the focus here for EDG. Xiaohao returning to About, landing that flag and drag, but another nice Valkyrie going to keep the Corki very far from the rest of EDG. And so once again, it is Xiaohao coming up empty down here in the bottom lane.
He may not be getting anything tangible, but freezing this wave here, difficult as a Civid, but it does mean that Leave is going to pick up a small lead and be able to work his way through those coal stacks, as we do get a dreaded pause. Panic.
Never want to see that. Here.
Watching NIP this morning, I think we were all just a bit disappointed in Weibo, actually. I think it's the main takeaway. NIP didn't have that level of expectations, but as we are back into the game, it is all about group ascend once more.
Trying to clock that top 6 spot. WE well on their way, at least so far, though they have been in that Knights Rivals tournament multiple times this year already, and have ended up winning out both times against Bulldog and LNG back in the day. And now Bulldog once again finds himself in this matchup against Karis. It is theoretically that counter matchup, but we have seen Karis be able to do a lot of different things on this Akali. These are two players here, Melvin, that have had very similar journeys, although a little bit delayed here on Bulldog's side. You know, Karis coming up as that kind of high-level prospect from Genji, getting opportunities to play on FearX, and then after realizing he wasn't going to get a top spot in the LCK, moves over to China here on WE, and has actually had a couple of really decent splits. Bulldog looking to try to do the same after his split on DNF that did not result in a ton of winning happening over there either.
Yeah, before coming over to the LPL, it was a pretty even matchup, honestly. Their overall head-to-head is 18 games to Karis, 13 to Bulldog. And considering, as you mentioned, it was Bulldog getting beaten down in those Knights Rivals matchups, these are two mid laners who for the longest time were on basically comparable standing, but with his time in the LPL, Karis has really gone to new heights. I would say generally contesting for maybe not a top 3 spot in the league consistently, but he's at least been able to be acknowledged in the top 5 discussion somewhat reliably. Maybe his form's a bit variable though.
He's had some inconsistent moments, I think, throughout his tenure on WE. I feel like that's been the defining nature of his time here. But at times, definitely does look good, specifically during that playoff run that WE went on, as well as, you know, early in Split 1 when he was in Group Perseverance against teams like Edward Gaming. Karis did end up looking a little bit better than potentially people were expecting, and that is something that is exciting to continue to see as a young player like himself makes his name in the LPL. Now we get a fight around the Grubs. Parukia with that taunt flash immediately onto Monki, and it'll be EDG getting onto the board and making their way to the Grubs.
Incredible recognition from EDG to know that, wait a minute, this is a Jace. He has nothing. Even if he wants to flash away, the miasma chain off of the taunt is just so perfectly executed. It's going to secure all 3 of these Grubs handily. into EDG's pocket unless we have Cube come
Xiaohao.
down and get something done.
He's like trying to take all three down at the same time. That means he ends up
This is
getting
not
neither
correct.
of them as Cube sweeps in to take one down with his Q. In goes the re-engage as the all-out goes in onto the Mbessa, and ZDZ will be able to take another kill, this time on to Cube. It will eventually be 2 Grubs taken down, but maybe Xiaohao could have reallocated some of that damage.
Yeah, that was weird. I will say that is just not how you take the Grub camp. Like, I don't understand what he was doing there mechanically, but was it a bait? like that's all I got right now. You managed to get a kill off the back of it.
Yeah.
You lost a Grub, but got a kill. Is that good? Maybe.
I would say worth, I guess. I don't know. There's been a lot of dialogue about how valuable these Grubs really are, and so maybe if Cube's willing to throw his life away for one, EDG can chalk that up as a win.
Because now we just have, it's a pretty standard play, no dragon up for 2 minutes. We're going to have to keep our eye on when those first items start getting ticked over. Was able to get that cannon minion, quite important. Just want to get that quest progress done, since About has been sitting in the bot lane relentlessly, whether he's been pushed under tier 2 tower or pushing up to the tier 1 of the enemy. He is going to be progressing that quest nicely, which means once he takes it over, he's going to be looking to evict Karis from mid lane. So Karis has to keep up on the quest progress himself to be ready to be side lane jailed.
Not there just yet. Still down about 20 CS to Bulldog in this range versus melee matchup. Again, they were not picking this Akali necessarily for the individual lane. In fact, I think if you are WE, you were probably imagining that it would be Leave playing this Cassio, just given the current state of the meta. But Karis, of course, historically very good on this champion. When WE needed a win throughout some of their struggles, I would say, in Group Ascend last split, they turned to Karis. They turned to, these comfort picks for him, like the Akali, and ended up resulting in some wins, very obviously, as they made their way all the way up to top 3 in the LPL by the end of the playoffs.
And as we highlight some of those all-important picks here, we do have Leave on an ADC. I know it's not that specific, but it's Leave on an ADC. Let's see if he can actually go back to why people were so hyped about him coming into the year. He was a bit of a mechanical god, and it's just not really been manifesting in any meaningful way, if I'm quite honest.
Yeah.
So this is a time where your back is against the wall. WE may not be one of those teams competing with you for a bottom 2 spot in Ascend, but you've already played against LGD. You've lost to Thunder Talk as well. Thunder Talk's looking pretty good. They may not even be one of those bottom teams, so you gotta get warmed up before you face JDG, because it's expecting, really looking at the standings so far, there'll be EDG, LGD, and JDG competing for those bottom 2 Ascend spots where they have to hold off the ranks of Nirvana coming into the playoffs. EDG really don't want to be standing in that position, especially if NIP continue to look good and IG has a continued level of success. It's only one series so far, but the Shy looked very scary. I don't think ZDZ wants to catch that heat right now.
Yeah, the fact that the Shy performing in the regular season means that IG may be here to play in Split 3. See that second dragon now spawning. It is, again, not the best situation for EDG that they've already lost to the 2 other teams that came up with them from Group Nirvana here to open up their regular season. Trying to get back into that win column to try to salvage themselves a spot in that postseason, an opportunity to potentially make it into Worlds. I mean, it might be hard to remember, but I think going into this year, when they picked up Leave to replace On, many people saw this EDG team as a bit of a sleeper to contend for one of those top spots, like we saw from WE last split. It hasn't all materialized just yet, but potentially can turn the tides around this second dragon here in Game 2. Dredgeline connecting onto Xiaohao as a teleport has come in from Cube, going to be matched by ZDZ. The Dragon is already secured by the side of Team WE, but EDG now looking for the fight. Cataclysm onto Cube, but he is face tanking it and not taking any damage whatsoever. Public Execution goes onto Levy, spell shields that, but can't get away from the damage of the Akali. Karis with a double kill already, still going to survive until finally he gets flashed upon ZDZ with that Intofo strike. Monki able to take the kill back onto Bulldog. ZDZ now an opportunity to pop off. He gets a shield with the Shen, trying to keep him alive. line with the stand united, and Xiaohao is still looking for the play as well. Cube going forward again with the dash. ZDZ in some trouble. Cube finally getting that kill. Now a 2v2 has opened up here in the bottom lane, and EDG will be able to get themselves away.
Edward Gaming overplay their hand at the end of that one, not able to finish off the play in a positive manner, as WE start off in such just clear fashion, burning this dragon down, and exactly what we said this comp needs to do. Chip you down with the poke, and then have the divers go in. With the teleport shield, Cube is actually quite durable, sat here in the Cataclysm, and Karis knows his job. He sees who is low, he flies forward with Cube, and Leave is a full HP ADC, but by God, if he doesn't look like it for long.
Unfortunate by Karis taking that final tower shot. Maybe could have been able to outplay if he was at 400 HP instead of less than 10. And ZDZ does a good job of getting EDG back into this fight.
It was his Cassante that pulled such heavy work in a previous series, and so I think maybe if that Larsen Tofo strike goes through, there might be an angle here, but it ends up being a still positive kill trade after when he re-engaged. But do you want all your gold on the Cassante? Not really. Even if ZDZ is having a barnstormer of a game, you still would like some of that gold. Oh, hello. Put onto Bulldog, who has been forced to flash away by Monki and Cube in the river.
We saw there on the damage charts as well. Both top laners really having a high impact in that last fight. Cube nearly 5,000 damage on the Mbessa. Going to have to continue to be a big part of this game for Team WE, as the On the Hunt has been procced, forces a flash away from a bout, as it will be the Rift Herald now spawning, and EDG getting positioning around the top side river early.
It's a fun little combo adaptation here that we have. If you have mobile champions to escape the Jarvanault, well, if it's paired with a Cassio, you chuck the Miasma inside, and suddenly it does not matter that you are Akali, you are still dead, as CDZ is approaching the assassin in the top lane. But when you're in isolation, you're not really going to do much to this guy here, as it's just going to be some light trading. Herald being looked at, as I'm very curious if WE want to force a play here or not.
I mean, you said they don't want to trade. I think ZDZ still does want this fight. Karis forced to dash away, and now ZDZ with the all-out in tow. Gonna have to back away momentarily. The Herald started up by Team WE. Monki and about shoving it back away. As in goes ZDZ now. Has to stand united on top of him, but he just goes down too quickly for the Shen to arrive. It seemed like ZDZ was waiting for EDG to be in a good position, but he was just not there in time. And so it will be a re-engage now for Team WE. The dredge line forces the flag and drag to be cancelled, and About is able to pick up the gold. Now Karis heading the Twilight Shroud, looking to try to dance around a 1v3 situation. Doesn't end up going for the potential outplay. Instead, will just allow his team to pick up this neutral objective.
And it's another series of play, looking close throughout, but still going into WE's favor by the end of it. Also going to be looking to knock down this first brick in the top lane. Herald is in pocket if they wanted to burn it immediately, but that has not really been the metagame for Herald in a while. You really do love using it as a battle Herald and then turning it into a tower charge after winning the fight with it. With Hextech Dragon, the first of at least two, spawning in a few moments. I am curious if EDG want to try and go for a play here, or if they're just going to back off, as there was a reason I didn't think ZDZ was going to go for that fight top lane, because what the hell do you do after? Akali's got a tower right there. Like, I was so confident he had no reason to go for that, and maybe if Xiaohao was right there, you could potentially threaten a dive, but it's still Akali with ult, and you're a no-flash Cassante. This is a fantastic hook that pretty much sealed the deal for WE at the end of this one. Didn't see the Cube actually shot off the public execution there. It wasn't able to land, but I think Bulldog's quite happy it didn't, if we're being honest.
Definitely so. Could have made things even worse for EDG, as that spell shield cancels the dredge line from Erha. You see the damage coming out through About's rockets already. He's getting focused down by Parukia, but he flashes at just the right time. The On the Hunt has been procced by Leave. Rift Herald has spawned with the dragon available for WE to take. They're at least going to get one charge into the tier 1 turret, with now both solo laners, I should say mid-jungle here in Monki and Karis, around the bottom side trying to look for a flank.
That was so well done by About. Didn't have flash, that was actually just the Valkyrie. He predicted the exact timing of the Shen flash was able to get himself to safety. And that is now one of the main 2 engage tools for EDG off the table. Cube could honestly just sit up here and keep ZDZ in the top lane, and if he's not allowed to TP into the fight, EDG will struggle to find enough frontline to survive Jace, Poke, and Corki rockets. So it's a bit of an awkward situation for EDG. I'm not sure if they can do something here, but if they're going to, they probably want to get it done faster rather than slower, as WE's just starting the dragon.
About definitely in some trouble now. Cataclysm will land on top of him. There's that miasma combo that you were talking about as well. Or I should say, just the amount of damage that was able to get pumped out results in the AD carry for Team WE down, and EDG finally finding a fight that they could potentially win. But Karis is ending up making that an impossibility. He gets a double kill for himself, and now it's a 2v3. Petrifying Gaze lands onto Erha. He will go down, and now it's a 2v2. Cube and Karis looking to take down ZDZ and Bulldog, and right now it's WE solo laners that are winning out on the skirmish. ZDZ in the all-out, looking for one final outplay, but it will not happen. Karis with the effective quadra kill in the team fight to give Team WE the ace.
8 people dead on my screen, and it will be the tier 1 mid tower going over to WE as a reward. The dragon, though, not takeable just yet. They can look now with the hex gates on the map. I fear that the solo lanes of WE won't be given time for a respite, won't be able to hit the base, but it looks like EDG, with that staggered respawn timer on their solo laners, won't even bother to contest. Okay, so it's just about getting picked. That, yep, really well executed by EDG, comboing off the back end of it, but shouldn't be happening. And WE managed to pick up Xiaohao because that's a really fed Corki. He does a lot of damage. And we're just left with Karis absolutely running the team fight, picking up the initial squishy members. Cube opting for a pacifist run, avoiding public execution once again. But it doesn't matter. They are able to win the skirmish at the end of it, as the solo laners for EDG are desperate to try and get any winning play off here. They just don't have the stats, don't have the mobility to match up against the WE solos.
Ooh. Edward Gaming feeling desperate. They're starting up this Baron. They knew that Monki was on a reset, and they actually burned this pretty quickly with the help of Bulldog and Leave. It's at 2,000 HP, and it will end up going down, but what will the fight look like in response? Already some big poke from Monki, but he gets hit up by the Cataclysm, and ZDZ is the one to pick up the kill. Depth charge onto Xiaohao. He tries to buffer it with the flag and drag, but still will end up being a casualty as the backline is ravaged by Karis and Cube once again. ZDZ goes all out, looking for a 1v1 against the Akali that he does not win. Another triple kill into the hands of the Team WE mid laner, and EDG looked for the Baron as desperation, but the power play will instead go to Team WE.
The shred tools just aren't there for EDG. The frightening 9-1 Akali hunts you down, and there's just simply not enough stats for EDG to survive it. There was a brief moment after that Baron where it looked like they could all get out, but Leave wanted to go by his namesake and get the hell out of there. But the rest of the team full sends it to kill Monki. And just that moment of hesitation, that committing of the Cataclysm, of those tools to not getting out immediately, gives WE all the time they need. Lets those solo laners collapse and lets WE redeem what was a somewhat good Baron sneak. And you'll get to see it here. It's just, as soon as they finish it, you see Leave is pathing away with Bulldog. Team goes, but wait, kill? And yeah, there's one, but Karis is here. And we've seen this episode before, guys.
Just watching some cinematic Akali gameplay here on the back end of this one. Karis, always known for this champion. Didn't always have the best win rate on it here in the LPL. I think a lot of that can just be credited to the fact that W weren't winning a lot of games in general. But he always has been very strong on this pick. And now 9-1-1. 19-1 is his current KD ratio throughout this best of 3. That is a tremendous scoreline here for a player that has seen some inconsistencies this season, but might be peaking at just the right time.
Really wants to get himself that player of the match. Monki has been able to take away both of them so far for WE's wins, but this is looking like it's Karis's in the pocket if they are able to finish out this game.
Yeah, they're looking for something in response to this Baron going down. They finally get a shutdown onto Q, but the rest of WE could actually be in trouble. Right as we were praising him, Karis flies too close to the sun, and it'll be ZDZ to pick up a 1,000 gold shutdown.
There's no way he gets taunted into all-outed under tower there. Like, that's the only reason I see him being in that
exactly
position.
What happened
available.
there, Melvin.
That's, yep, that. I still don't think Monki's getting player of the match, I'll be honest.
Flash by Parukia looking for about his EDG, looking to maybe try to turn that kill onto Karis into something more. But there's another big carry on WE's side, and his name is About. Bulldog looking to try and re-engage once more with that miasma, but About is still at full HP. He valves forward to try to take down the Casio, and now it's only the front line that remains. It's a double kill, make it a triple, as About stands tall in the bottom side.
Gliding at the end of that one, realizing all the tools were sent away from him after that initial flash engage from Parukia, and, well, guys, I know he's not a mage anymore, but Corki's a blooming scary champion at 3 items. We really do need to fix this little glitch in the inventory that makes it look like he's only got 2 in Adorance, because that Mirror Banner pumped damage there.
Oh, you said 3? How about 4? That's a Guardian Angel he just picked up all the way from nothing as we take another look at this fight.
Okay. So, I still don't see how this happens right now. Is it truly just the most bog-standard Cassante possible? I mean, well executed from EDG to find it. Like, it's slick from ZDZ, but Karis 3 shouldn't be standing in a position to let that happen. Like, I don't know. It shouldn't be allowed to happen with you being as important of a member as you are this game. About, though, plays this whole skirmish so incredibly well. Just playing perfectly out of range for the carries after that initial engage, and then all the resources from Bulldog are sent into Monki, and then, hey, wait a minute, he's going to flag and drag behind me.
That was an unofficial penta that we just missed. Congratulations About. Not getting credit by the game, but getting credit in our hearts. All 5 going down to the Corki in that extended play. WE now looking for the Hextech Soul as we are immediately back to live. Flank available for Karis, waiting for his opportunity as a ton of poke has already come down here by the Jace. In goes Xiaohao, finds a 3-man Cataclysm. Monki will go down first. The Dragon is so low, but it will still be picked up, this time by EDG. The fight going their way as well. Perfect execution, not going to connect, as now Cube is going into a 1v2 situation until About responds with the Guardian Angel, able to take Xiaohao down. It'll be 4 kills for 2, but EDG deny the soul for now.
I think EDG are going to be happy walking away with that one, especially taking off About's GA immediately after purchase. I'm just going to wait for the replay, if I'm quite honest, to analyze that one, because we have now found ourselves in a state of the game where there's a massive gold lead, but not a soul. And let's see how Monki gets one shot here, because it is Xiaohao going in, forcing the ticket, but as he goes to pull away, he is completely shredded from the HP. Cube goes over to finish, and equally, we have Leave just being in the Sivir scenario. There's so many stacked champions. Unfortunately, still an ADC, despite the real slick way that he nearly survived against Karis, but wasn't able to get it done. Too much proficiency on the champ for that one. And then it is just solo lane warfare here to eventually bail About out of there.
Team fighting still pristine for Team WE, although you have to credit Edward Gaming for finding moments throughout this series, despite being far behind, that can turn these situations into at least even trades for themselves. I think they'll be very happy with the fact that it is not a Hextech Soul on WE, as this Baron is once again made available.
Erha, there's an Akali on the flank.
Eyes on the Karis here. Yeah, in the mid lane. EDG are trying to get some push. On the hunt has been procced, but already the fight has begun by Erha as he goes forward with the depth charge and allows for Karis to scoop into the backline. Cube as well, but he's getting taken down. Oh, EDG with a massive turnaround off of the back of Leave. They go forward to pick up 4 straight kills. Only About is left alive as the Baron will go into their hands.
The tunnel vision takes over WE, and the stats for EDG, despite being 7k gold behind at the time, they play to their win conditions. They keep their carries alive.
Oh, Bulldog.
Until
he was looking for the tower, might pay for it with his life. About not able to do enough DPS, and so it will be EDG as all 5 retreating to the Baron pit and picking up the big purple buff for the next 3 minutes.
that will carry over to overlap with the Dragon Spawn. So it means that EDG will be able to take some swings back at WE, with the gold lead being not negligible. Like 3k is a full item, but it's spread across the team. And let's see how it starts. It's Karis seeing an angle, but honestly just diving way too far. There's been no poke laid down onto anybody just yet. Cassante is the most chipped member as Xiaohao leaps to the backline, and EDG layer everything onto these divers to stop the play.
Oh, Leave just did so much work in that fight. You see Parukia dying in the picture-in-picture. Unideal situation for Edward Gaming, but they still have the Baron power play, and they have cut the gold lead in half. Now only 4,000 favoring WE. That gold still going to be valuable, though, as you see, specifically about in a great position right now. He's got his Guardian Angel on cooldown, sure, but that's a Seekers. That's a little bit of extra luxury to go alongside a Last Whisper.
He may not be the AP monster he once was, but having a Seekers this game definitely seems like it's going to pay off when you're against the Jarvan. It's a lot of CC, but not that kind of CC. As soon as you are out of the Flash Shen taunt, you can throw down that arm guard and suddenly dodge out on most of EDG's aggression. So that is something you need to be watching enemy inventories, seeing that Bulldog has picked up his stopwatch, that Xiaohao has his GA. There is no defensive item on Leave yet, though. That is the big difference in the gold lead over to WE. About has indexed it into keeping himself alive a little bit longer, as WE not opting to play for a 1-3-1 here. They want this Hextech Soul direly. That could be their undoing, though, if they aren't able to get this poke to stick onto EDG before they approach.
You see here, of course, talked about the compositions. EDG definitely ones that scales better, and we're starting to see a little bit of that late game prowess. Now the way WE win these team fights is with the help of this poke from Monki, like we're seeing with the accelerated shock blast. EDG going to gain priority in the mid lane, take down the tier 1 turret with help of the Baron powered minions. 40 seconds still left on the buff, and 20 until the Hextech Soul is at the ready for WE to take. You see another teleport coming in. Try to rejoin the fight. And now it is EDG being forced to respond, forced to face check this brush. It'll be ZDZ to do it, and he finds his way out with the Pathfinder. Dragon now spawned, and Karis is on a flank.
Karis is hunting. The hunt has begun.
Yeah, there's the Cataclysm. It goes on to Erha. He has the Protoplasm Harness procced, and immediately ZDZ sends Karis away with the all-out. He dashes on out, finds a Shuriken flip, and will assassinate Parukia, looking for the perfect execution on the backline, but will not have it just yet. WE already have picked up 1 kill onto the Shen, and they will retreat back to the Drake with Bulldog and ZDZ still healthy, but they do not want to go for the flip. So they will give up the soul, as WE will pick up their 4th dragon of the game. It'll be Hextech in for them.
That is much, much better from WE. I think they got a bit too big for their boots on that last play on mid, thinking they were further ahead than they were relative to EDG, not realizing that, again, it's not a comp gap unless you dive into them as 5 people, but they dived in as 5 people, so yes, EDG have a comp gap in that situation. This time, playing a lot more slowly, Karis being far more reserved, immediately popping the stopwatch as he is kidnapped by ZDZ, and then repositions to take out the Shen, and that's it. That's all you need to do. That's one of the defensive tools gone from EDG, and suddenly Bulldog and Leave have 1 less layer of protection if Cube and Karis want to pull the trigger and re-engage. So that is all you need to do. It is just about making sure you don't get too caught up in the moment, and don't risk having a Cataclysm land on your Corki, land on your Jace, and one-shot them before they get to play the game, as now we enter a moment of peace. The Baron spawning in 2 minutes. I doubt there'll be many series of play before that, as it's just about balancing out your side lanes and keeping an eye on the inventories, looking for those key pickups. You still have the Seekers, the full GA is available for about.
Notably for WE, they're a couple of gold away from picking up some big spikes on their solo laner, specifically Cube, approaching that Guardian Angel, and we just see the Rabadon's death cap acquired for Karis in the mid lane. Bout's got his Mortal Reminder. It's just the Seeker still in his inventory. He's been pretty untouched throughout these last couple of fights here, Melvin. Seems like EDG's main objective has just been to try and peel away from the engage that comes through from specifically Erha and Karis so far.
And it's part of the reason why I want WE to just play a slightly more patient game. Yeah, Monki has got disgusting levels of poke with About using the Hextech Soul. and those just long-range skill shots. So leverage it. If you're fighting for Baron, or if you're just prepping the Baron, you can do this. Like, we hadn't said the phrase 1-3-1 at all this game so far, but you have Akali and Ambessa. This is a terrifying 1-3-1 comp from WE. They've just been playing it as a full 5-stack dive, and it's been working. But now, EDG have, you know, shown that they have the stuff in them to hold your arm's length if you're going to play into a losing compositional gap. And now it's going to be about if WE can actually leverage the 1-3-1 to get something done, or if EDG can force their hand and just potentially brute force their way to this Baron, considering with the Casio and the Sivir, they shred that. It goes fast.
Yeah, the late game fantasy has fully arrived for Edward Gaming. Despite them being down 5,500 gold, they have a 4-item Cassiopeia, they have a 4.5-item Sivir. Those are still going to be champions that do a lot of work in these 5v5s. WE need to continue to be creative, as they have been, in finding team fights that work for them. They are still up 6,000 gold, and they still have some very advantageous players in their team, specifically Monki here. He's able to throw out a lot of poke before these fights end up beginning.
I hate where Monki was standing right there. He was standing there for way too long when there's a Jarvan in range to engage. But we should probably do a last-minute flash check-in. Sivir's is nearly back up for leave. Bulldog's still a while away. That Shen has the flash just about to tick down, ready to fish for an engage over on WE's side. It is everybody except for Erha with the Hex Flash and Cube that has their flash available, as now it's WE pulling the Baron.
Yep, it is Cube that forced ZDZ back to base to defend the bot lane inhibitor turret, which means that WE wanted to start up the Baron, but Parukia able to join in time and make sure that it is a 4v4 that Team WE are not too comfortable taking. Still see Cube maintaining his presence in that side lane, as Leave will make his presence known in the mid lane, clearing out that entire wave. Not going to take down the entirety of that tier 2 turret, but the 1-3-1 will once again continue. Karis takes down the inhibitor tower, and will get a little bit more gold into the hands of WE.
And almost perfectly in sync, that bot lane tower is left on a single-digit level of health for EDG. And so, WE playing to their comp at last. I can't believe how long we went into this game without acknowledging the fact that with these two champions they can play like some incredibly disgusting side lane play. But now they have been forced to actually play to it because the Elder Dragon is up in a minute 20. WE are now kind of on the clock to do something, and they are aware, pulling the trigger on the Baron.
And they're sending a TP in from Cube, so they want to guarantee a 5v5. Dredgeline lands onto Xiaohao. He has the Guardian Angel, but is already chunked down to 40%. Karis is in that flank, waiting in the bush, but eventually will have to run for the hills. As in goes Parukia for the Flash Charm. Not going to find it, but the Miasma will connect. The Akali now in some danger as Bulldog's looking to chase him out. And Karis is forced to half and out of the fight. Shock Blast lands onto Xiaohao as the Baron once again gets started up by Team WE.
That is a Jarvan. He cannot TP back in. But can W even hold on to this objective with Karis chunked out? He still has the TP rejoining. It's a 4v5 for WE.
Even Bulldog going to have to be the big difference makers here. They still do a lot of damage. Shock Blast comes out, but doesn't find too much. Petrifying Gaze only onto Erha, but now it is Bulldog getting targeted, forced to go golden as the Baron already secured by Team WE. And Cube is flashing into the backline, carries and takes both of them out with a single punch. Still ZDZ and Xiaohao alive, but they will not be for long, as 5 strong still stand for Team WE. Monki goes to the skies to pick up the ace, as they will march towards the mid lane and move up to 3-1 in the standings.
And Karis, he merits the respect of EDG so badly that Cube is able to leap in at the last second, take control of the fight, and be the one that obliterates those key members for EDG. This will be moving down to 0-4 on the scoreboard in Group Ascend. A scary place to be for EDG, but WE making some serious contention to put them in that upper echelon of the league.
WE have always been the team that finish strong. What happens when they start strong? That is something that we are left to see. 3-1 in Group Ascend, and they've got a date with Billy tomorrow.
Oh, that's going to be hyphy. I'm looking real forward to that. With what we've been seeing from BLG as of late, I mean, it's pretty much statistically guaranteed we get 3 games. It's just whether WE are able to take it away or if BLG can pull their magic. But for today, this is high mental. They're going to be feeling good. WE if anything, I think it's a good thing for them that they got challenged, they got proved, yeah, you can't just wallet gap when there's this much of a comp difference here. If you try and dive into a Casio, into a Sivir, with a Cassante and a Shen, 7k gold lead ain't gonna cut it. You need a bit more than that to be able to just completely roll over the fight. And then, most impressively to me, WE pivoted. They played their comp to what you would have expected when you saw it in Champ Select, and spread across the map, made it so they had the scary poke, they had the Nautilus, so WE could never really stand as a 3-stack against them, or they risked just getting torn apart. But then on the side lane, it's an Umbessa and a Kali. How are you supposed to force on that?
The 1-3-1 ended up being the prime strategy for WE. It almost was like they didn't need to pull it out because they were so far ahead, and then all of a sudden once they faced a challenge, full 5v5, well, you should counter that by side laning and putting your opponent on the back foot when it comes to starting up these neutral objectives, which is exactly what WE did in that last fight. I also love how it was a different hero at each stage in the game. It was Karis at the beginning, right, picking up a ton of kills to jump out to 9-1. Then it was about with that unofficial penta on the Corki in the bottom lane once Karis ended up going down. And when both of them were unable to fully contribute to that fight, it was Cube on the Umbessa to close things out for his team. Ended up really assassinating both backline members of Edward Gaming and allowing for them to pick up the clean ace.
And notice how in that list you didn't have to say Monki. Because WE is more than Monki. It is a team that plays around him as their captain, but they are all perfectly capable of pulling up their socks and carrying when they need to. And I would personally say that this is the series that About should be taking player of the series away from Monki. I think that he just deserves it after how well he played in Game 1 and how well he played in Game 2. I think that Karis had a very strong performance on the Ahri and was scary on the Akali, but God alive, playing an ADC in this current metagame and actually being able to have that significant of an impact twice in a row, I think he deserves some flowers for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really big growth arc for About, similar to Karis, but, you know, it's more so as a rookie, coming over from the Gen G Challenger system. Of course, he had some time in China before going back over to the Gen G Challengers team. But now back on an LPL team, you know, he was hand recruited by Monki, who previously was teammates with him on a former, you know, lower tier organization, and really About has made that worth it for them, scaling into 2026 really, really well. Same with Karis, who also has had himself a really good series. I would imagine player of the series, though, going to go to About at this point. And this leaves us in a very exciting position in the LPL. I wonder if Kai, we'd be able to pull up our schedule for the rest of our time here in Shanghai just to see what exactly the upcoming games do look like, because for EDG, the road does not get easier for them. They're going to play against EDG or against anyone's Legend tomorrow, so really no break for them. And then meanwhile for WE, they're going to continue to be tested. They have the defending champions in BLG tomorrow, and then on Sunday, I think a sneaky fun game against a really surprising Thundertalk so far.
With the form that Xiaohao has had so far, that might be the peak of jungle matchup game. Like, I'm incredibly excited to see how these two face off against each other and what kind of sparks fly when they have to just throw everything in those early just invades pathing. Like, it's gonna be delicious.
Waiting for this interview to conclude with Karis, and before we take a look at some of our end of day or end of series graphics, and
end of day,
of course the awarding of our player of the game. Yeah, there's still another matchup coming up next, and that should also be a fun one between TT and JD Gaming, two teams that have had very different expectations entering the split and have not necessarily met them in either direction. That'll be a fun one to take a look at in just a few short minutes. Team WE, though, let's take one last look at what their kind of status is right now in the LPL. 3-1. I'll just raise this question to you. Where do you rank them amongst these 8 teams based off of what you have seen so far?
Ooh, I mean, the part that makes it difficult is because their first loss was to Top. Because
Top haven't looked very good themselves.
Yeah, since then, and even during that, it was a competitive series, even though it was a 2-0. I mean, they are third on the scoreboard, Do I actually think they're third over top esports? I think it's a pretty close battle between those two. And if they can take it to AL, then we are in some crazy times. They won't get to prove that one this time around. They have to beat their way through BLG first as we're going through. But, I mean, I think I put WE third. I think that's, yeah, I think I've talked myself into it. I think I'm putting WE third place in the league right now based on form, which is so weird considering they got third only a few weeks ago, but it just doesn't feel right to say it. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty impressed by AL specifically, especially with Breathe coming back into that team, but I think that WE are right on their tails. Top Esports, they have not looked at that same level, at least over the last couple of series that they have played. So hoping to see them bounce back a little bit. But for now, I would also have WE power rank third at this point in the league, which is a shocking thing to say if you just take a look at what the standings look like in Split 2, where they were 1-13. You know, if we run that same graphic again for how long it took them to get to 3 series wins, obviously they didn't do that in Split 2. Even back to Split 3 of last year, after WE went on their total 4th place miracle run of their own in 2025, they only got a total of 3 series wins throughout the regular season of Split 3. They've already reached that. So again, this is the best WE that we have seen, at least in the start of a regular season. And if they're continuing to be that team that can scale further and further as the season progresses, there's a lot to be excited about with what this team could look like and what their prospects could be of attending Worlds in North America this October.
I mean, outside of a generational caster curse from us right now, I don't see a reason why their trajectory would slow. Yes, they have to face BLG, and you're probably expecting that to be a loss. Done the talk. That's going to be a really fun series. I could see that going either way quite realistically, especially because of how volatile it's going to end up being, I would have to imagine. But even if they lose both of those series this week and end up 3-3, as long as they do it in good form, I'm still quite happy with where WE are right now. I think that About has really been stepping up today, and I'm so excited to see if it's going to be him or Karis that walk away with both player of the game and player of the match respectively this time around, because Monki in both the other wins did take it away, and it has been About and Karis splitting the non-Monki players of the game awards in those 2 series thus far.
I think it has to be about 50,000 damage in this game alone, and then going for plays like this, right? Having that killer instinct to Valk forward, then flash away from the Intofo strikes. Again, an unofficial penta, I believe, once it was all said and done. We had an unofficial quadra for Karis, unofficial penta for About, and just really exceptional team fighting, all things considered. Kind of on both sides, as, again, EDG did have their moments as well.
Yeah, this was one of those main turning points that EDG, they found Baron sneak angles, they found moments of being able to leverage their comp. Like, you can't say that this team went into the game with no win condition, because they did have a win condition. It's just the fact that when you're behind, if you're the guys that need to stand at the objective and have the enemy walk into you, that's really hard to do, because going to the objective first means you are innately sacrificing pressure on the map, and it's a lot easier to do that when you're already ahead and going, yeah, you can knock down a tier 1 tower top, we're going to secure soul point right now, versus I would really like to hit my 3rd item on Sivir. Could I please go get a side lane? No, I have to stand here early and wait for 2 minutes before the fight. Cool. That's rough. That's rough.
Unfortunate. Happens to the best of us. You know, sometimes you got to play for the team. That is certainly what Leave has been forced to do. Not necessarily his style of meta right now, and I think EDG are feeling that just a bit. They've only picked up 1 singular game win throughout their 4 series played in Group Ascend so far. Again, this was a team that a lot of people were expecting to maybe make some waves in Group Ascend. Entering the start of this year hasn't happened just yet because of players like About, who will pick up your player of the game and presumably player of the series. There's a lot of stats that we can look at here, Melvin. Damage to gold is one that I want to focus on. It's the amount of, damage to gold. And normally a number of like 150% or higher is pretty good. This is pretty insane, especially considering this guy was full build at like 30 minutes. So he had a lot of gold.
My eyes are fixated on the stat to the left of it. 37 damage percent when, reminder, this was a team with Ambessa, who has been hitting a tank all game in isolation. Akali, who was something like, what, 10-2 by the end of the game, and a Jace jungle, and you hit 37% of the damage dealt, is just a crazy number from About. What an excellent performance. Well deserved, as Monki can't escape getting a single vote from the casters in there.
It's like kind of the Lion comparison that I think a lot of people do. Honestly, I would actually compare these two teams pretty similarly in terms of what their styles really are, but how much of WE's success can you attribute to a player like Monki just because of the shot calling and the leadership that he provides? Well, I think you can get some way there, but when your bot laner goes 13-1, I think there's a good reason to get that guy the player of the game. And I would imagine player of the matches, he went, I think, 10-0, 9-0, or 9-1 in the game before. Oh, they're going to give it to Karis. Okay.
Oof. It's not
my
robbery
choice
because he played well, but yeah. It's like, is it robbery if they both are two of the fastest people on the planet and one of them ekes ahead of the other? Yeah, sure. All right. It was an expectedly close race, just the way we would have leaned. Karis did play incredibly well against his opposite number. Will bump up his head-to-head with Bulldog after the end of today, and I mean, he got to do it on his signature champion. He got to do it on the Ahri. Like, there was a lot done, and there were so many moments where it truly felt like EDG had almost cracked the code, which gives me a level of hope for them. Not that they have much time to really improve on it before they have to face AL tomorrow.
Yeah, not necessarily the easiest bounce back for EDG, but they're going to have to do it regardless. That is the nature of our schedule here in the LPL. Speaking of scheduling, it is time for us to take a bow for now. Melvin, a pleasure as always. I'm sure we'll be together again soon. Once again, Team WE with a 2-0 over Edward Gaming. We're heading into our last series of the day between JD Gaming and Thunder Talk, and it's time for a little bit of R&R. That means rest and relaxation for me, and that means Rafa and Rudud for you. We'll see you after the break.